The deep dive. Today, we're unpacking the compensation data for clinical coding professionals here in the UK. Our mission really is to figure out how you hit the absolute top earnings. What's the ceiling? And our sources point to two, well, pretty distinct strategic paths to get there: permanent executive leadership or specialized contract work.
Yeah, and this is so critical because, coders are essentially the financial engine room for the NHS. They translate diagnoses using ICD-10 codes and procedures, that's at PCS4, into standardized data.
Right.
And that data, it determines the healthcare resource groups, the HRGs,
Mm-hmm.
which then links straight into the payment by results system. So basically, these codes dictate how NHS trusts actually get paid.
Okay, so huge financial importance, but let's start at the bottom because honestly, the initial figures seem startlingly low for that kind of responsibility. We're seeing entry level around, 22,383, and the UK average for a certified coder is only about 28,574.
Well, yeah, that average gets dragged down by what our sources are calling the compression effect.
Mm.
You've got a really high volume of coders working at those foundational NHS bands, Band 4, Band 5, mostly focused on production coding.
Just churning out codes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the core finding here is that substantial pay growth isn't linear. It's not just about doing more. To break out of that baseline, you have to shift from that high-volume production coding towards more specialized roles focused on data assurance and governance.
Ah, okay. So the path to the really big money isn't about coding faster. It's about changing what you code and maybe more importantly, why you're coding it. Sort of moving from the engine room, as you said, to maybe the bridge or the finance office.
Yeah, exactly. And that first big professional hurdle you need to clear,
Yeah.
it's achieving accredited clinical coder status. That's the ACC, via the National Clinical Coding Qualification, the NCCQ, that certification. It's basically the non-negotiable key to unlock almost all the senior roles.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So let's look at that first path then. The executive leadership route within the permanent NHS structure, the agenda for change pay scales. We see you need that ACC, okay, plus the NHS England Clinical Coding Trainer qualification to get to Band 7 or 8A specialist roles. And those seem to top out around $62,682.
That's right. But if you stay on that permanent path and really push for the absolute summit, you're looking at Band 9 director or head of service roles. These are focused almost entirely on financial strategy, data integrity, that sort of thing.
Okay, the real top tier.
And the maximum compensation we observe there is, well, it's pretty impressive. 107,637 hours, up to $122,695 per year. Now, getting that very top figure, that almost always means working in London. You're leveraging the high-cost area supplement, the HEA, London weighting. And that premium is justified because you're accountable for data that impacts millions, literally millions, in trust funding.
Okay, so that's the strategic permanent leadership route. High responsibility, high reward eventually. Now let's pivot. What about the alternative? High risk, high operational reward, the contract market.
All right, this is where you can find the highest immediate operational income, day to day. Specifically, highly specialized contract clinical coding auditors. These roles command day rates, typically of around £300 to £350 per day.
Wow. Okay. So if you annualize that, say based on maybe 220 working days a year, that works out to a gross income of 66,000 to 77,000 pounds. That's competing with a permanent Band 8B salary, isn't it? But without the management baggage.
Exactly. Well, it's very attractive on paper, but, and this is a big but, you absolutely have to factor in the risk profile. That's 77K. That's a gross figure. There's no job stability, no sick pay, no pension contributions like in the NHS scheme.
Right. Benefits are gone.
And critically, you're subject to IR35. That's the complex UK tax legislation that looks at whether you're genuinely self-employed or effectively an employee for tax purposes. Getting that wrong can drastically reduce your actual take-home pay. It's a significant risk.
Okay, definitely something to be wary of. Which actually brings us to something really surprising we found in the data, a kind of geographic paradox. You said London holds the absolute ceiling, that 122K figure.
Yeah, that's where the top Band 9 HCA roles are.
But wait a second. How can London, the place with the highest potential pay, also have the lowest reported average medical coder salary in the entire UK? The data shows London's average at just £17,115.14. That doesn't immediately make sense. What's going on there?
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But what it shows is that London Premium, the HCA, really only benefits those at the very top, those senior Band 8C9 roles. Meanwhile, you have a huge volume of more junior standard production coders in London, maybe band 4 or 5, possibly even trainees included in that average, pulling it way down.
So the average is skewed low by the sheer number of entry-level or standard roles compared to the few high flyers.
Precisely. And you contrast that with the region showing the highest general average salary. That turned out to be Wales at £33,531 and 50.
Higher than the overall UK average we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It suggests that for mid-career coders, maybe band 5 or 6, the wages outside the very expensive capital might actually be more competitive and offer a better quality of life, potentially.
Interesting. Okay, so pulling this all together, the ultimate strategic insight here seems pretty clear. Whether you go for that permanent director role or the high-rate contract auditing, it seems that deep knowledge of healthcare resource groups, HRGs, and the National Tariff Payment System, NTPS, is what turns your technical coding skill into maximum financial value.
Absolutely. The career progression isn't just about coding complexity. It's about understanding and managing the financial consequences of that coding. Which leaves us with a final thought, really a question for you, the listener, to ponder. Why does the market place such a massive premium on the auditing and assurance of coded data, whether that's through a director ensuring system integrity or an external contractor checking compliance compared to the initial production of the codes themselves? What does that tell us about where the real economic risk lies in this multi-billion-pound NHS funding system?